This shoe with a review of the Zion 2. The silhouette overall is a huge departure from the Zion 1. The design is very reminiscent of Zoom Challenge, the old 90s tennis shoe models, and the LeBron 2, the kind of silhouette is there. For a size 9, it weighs about 408 grams. It feels just as heavy as the Digit Show, but not too heavy like some composite shoes, but not the lightest shoe out there. Overall, I think this is a huge improvement from the Zion 1. One thing that had me worried was the Zion 1 had the full-length air strobo with an additional zoom air on the forefoot, so there was elevated double stack air cushioning on the forefoot, while the heel air was somewhat of a bit more sinking and provided less shock absorption than it should, because the air is distributed throughout all the way to the forefoot. So what they did right here is that they changed it in such a way that the air strobo ends right here in the middle. So here, some part in the midfoot area where the inserted stabilizing plate is at, that's where the air strobo stops. So there's only heel air strobo and a separate zoom air on the forefoot. So the heel air gets a job done without having to be all exposed and macho about it, or being too little, or being too long, elongated, and connected to the forefoot. So it gets a job done. The PSI is retained better than having a full-length air strobo. So this definitely is an upgrade from the Zion 1, which felt like the heel is always sinking. Then I had to put an additional reinforcement, the heel insole, to make it work. But the downside, one disappointing factor is that, like the G4 Converse basketball shoe for Draymond Green that was released last year, I think, the zoom air, you can feel it definitely, but around the zoom air unit, the toe area, there's like basically nothing, no minimal foam cushioning. So you feel like the toe areas they're just crunching on hard asphalt or cement. So the insole they're given is this very fluffy, soft sponge-like, ortho-like insole with very low density. So overall, it provides a smooth cloud-like feel, but on the areas like the toe areas where there's minimum cushioning, it's a little lacking. So I would recommend switching to a thicker EVA or a PU insole so that you get some level of comfort while enjoying the zoom air. That's what I would recommend. It fits somewhat true to size, but I do feel like it can be a bit narrow. So I would recommend going half a size up, because it feels a little short, because there's a lot of padding around the Achilles and around the ankle area. So the padding kind of pushes the foot forward a little bit maybe. So I feel like you need to go at least half a size up for that length as well. If you have a really narrow foot and you don't mind a tight fitting shoe, I say, you go true to size. On the toe box area, there's a little bit of a softness here and a bit of a dead space, not too much. So I wish they would have had this reinforced mudguard bit extended a little bit here. That would have been better. This strap, it's not something that does crazy things, but it provides some level of additional lockdown. The laces go all the way near the strap, so yeah. So even without the strap, there's decent lockdown there. The tongue is decently padded, nothing that would cut circulation. I don't know about this vinyl plasticky material. It looks shiny and nice. I don't know if it adds to the weight or it makes it lighter, but it's shiny and nice. I don't know how durable these kind of materials are compared to leather or fused plastic materials. Definitely more durable than mesh or knit materials. So yeah, the outsole pattern, as you can tell, is very similar to the Air More Up Tempo, the Scottie Pippen signature that says Air on the lateral side. And even worse than the Air Up Tempo is that there's a pretty much straight line flowing. So for side-to-side movements, the traction is adequate, pretty decent. But for front and back, forward and backward movements, if you're kind of leaning, making contact with this, the extreme lateral or the extreme medial part of the shoe, you might drag a little bit. But for side-to-side movement, the traction is pretty decent. Not as dust sensitive as Zion 1, not as Slightly more durable, definitely, than the Zion 1, because the Zion 1 had a very soft rubber compound that seemed to be weak when it's dusty quartz. So this is definitely an upgrade, but still that sliding, a little bit of a lack of a bite when it comes to front and forward and back of movement. That's a little bit disappointing, but it's not too bad. It's not a deal breaker. The Outrigger is fantastic. The Zion 1 had an outrigger, but the midsole is there, and the outrigger was positioned in a funny way that it'll still let you sprain your ankle because it did not provide the resistance needed. But look at this prominent outrigger and look at the material used. It's not foam, it's encased in rubber, and it's extra hard material here, like the typical Chinese shoe that does a good job of providing really solid outrigger. So good anti-lateral inversion prevention containment here, so great. Even the toe area, there's a bit of a outrigger type of outsole here, so outrigger is fantastic for this shoe. So overall, for the price point, which is barely slightly over $100, I think it's good that Jordan Brand and Nike kept their promise of keeping the Zion series a bit more affordable, despite the fact that they've got decent tech air sole in the forefoot and the heel as well, which is such a rarity these days, something that we celebrate, even though that should be the given norm. Anyway, you get bang for your bucks. The setup of the cushioning is definitely improved compared to the Zion 1. The separated air strobel and the Zoom Air is great, and I would recommend getting a different insole than the super flimsy one here, because you need some cushioning around the toe area because you can literally feel the floor.